Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. This woman has helped so many people. And if you're somebody dealing with change, specifically loss in your life, grief in your life, I can honestly, truly say there is no one better qualified than she is to help you through that path. Or maybe it's somebody you know to walk the journey with you, to hold your hand through it. And we're going to talk about that grief process. By the way, she can coach as well with some great insight in general. But when it comes to the grief process, as you go along that journey, you look at yourself and say, who am I? Who am I now? Because things have changed. That was then, this is now. Who am I now? We're going to look at that and so much more with Georgena Grace back on the program. Georgena, welcome. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you this morning, Steve?
Very well, and so gratified to have you back with us. And it's an interesting question, and it doesn't matter what kind of grief you're going through. And we identified in previous podcasts that grief can come in all loss of relationship, loss of a loved one, could even be loss of a job.
Yes.
You be at a job for many, many years, and things suddenly change, and now you're grieving that loss and that change. And then you come to a point where you say, well, how did I get here? Who am I now? How do you define, Georgena, who you are now at this time? How do you figure that out?
It's a process that can be an instantaneous awareness. Usually it's very slow because it's who am I now that I am no longer that homeowner, that employee, that spouse, that parent. And how has this loss transformed me? Because we're not broken by the loss. We're broken open like a seed to grow in self-awareness and new connections. So the process begins with the self-awareness, and then it also begins with the question, what do I want to have happen?
When you say that, I want to just, before we move forward, when you say, what do I want to have happen? Let's say it's the passing of a loved one, maybe a spouse. When we say that, are we setting expectations for us and goals? And should we be doing that?
There is, in the darkest of night, the possibility of light. And that question asked in the moment may be, what do I want to have happen this hour, this day, rather than something in the far distant future? And that's why I love this question, is because I use it throughout the day as a way to stop and check in.
And that's something that we talked about last time, where be truly present in the moment, in right now at this moment. What do you want to happen? What are you thinking about? Really basically checking in with yourself, because I truly believe, and I think we've identified this before in the grieving process, I think in life in general, there's so much going on in our heads that we're trying to process this over here. What happened then? What's going to happen? We think is going to happen in the future. This, that, everything. Stop. Reset button. Look at the now. Look at yourself now.
And so the principles of the Integrated Wellbeing Institute begin with two from my mentor, Alana Rubenfeld. Awareness is the first key to change. Change happens only in the present moment. And as people, we don't like change. However, it's inevitable. And then the next few principles are, allow yourself the freedom to fully feel what is happening in this moment. Know that the body is the path to the present. So when you can feel your feet on the floor or your hips in the chair, that brings you into that self-awareness. And then be compassionate with yourself and curious. So you say, how do we do this process to answer the question, who am I now? It's a moment by moment answer. And over time, as you become more aware, there's a peacefulness that settles in. You access the well-being within, that inner peace.
Yeah, I just popped in my head. There's a song by Bob Marley called Could You Be Loved? And there's a line in the song, in the darkness, you must come out to light, meaning you will. There is light, cliche at the end of the tunnel, but it's there. It's waiting for you. Sometimes it takes longer to go to the light. Why do we, when grieving, have challenges even checking in? Is it guilt that we're maybe at that point, maybe thinking that we're moving forward a little too fast?
So tell me more about what you mean about checking
In the present. Like,
Okay.
we just don't do it. Even in life in general, we're not doing that. We're not checking in.
All right. My experience as a person and as a professional is we're not trained to live in the moment.
Okay, fair enough.
We're looking at the past or we're futurizing. I call it pasteurizing or futurizing, Steve.
I love that. Yeah. And you're right. We're not trained. And who taught me? Me.
That's right.
When somebody said that to me. And I shared that with you, that was at the beginning of my journey that somebody said that. And I had no idea what she was talking about. And it wasn't like she was intuitive. She was just observing me. And then I was like, oh, okay, I need to start doing this for myself and get in the now.
And so to answer the question, who am I now? For most people, it's a very slow process that begins in the present moment with more and more self-awareness. Oh, I just was flooded with guilt. However, this time, instead of allowing it to pull me down and drain my energy, I said, oh, I should have done X, Y, Z. That's what we say in our head that can put us in guilt. This time I said, I'm having the thought I should have done X, Y, Z. That's a tool. You've implemented that tool. So in that moment, you see, you've got more self-awareness.
Is it reasonable to change situations around or view them differently? Like, for example, let's say a spouse passes. Time goes on. And you decide, okay, I want to, renovate a backyard. And maybe that was their dream and it never took place. Maybe they started it, never took place, or, you've kind of abandoned that, your oasis in your backyard for, number of years. And now it's like, I really want to, make it nice. I want to get back to it now. Instead of saying, well, that's when, they used to be here and we used to spend time together. Is it reasonable to turn it around and say, you know what? They enjoyed it. And I think that they would want me to enjoy it. So I'm doing it out of love and honor for them as well.
Yes. That's why I do this work out of love and honor for my son. That's why I wrote my book, A New Morning, Discovering the Gifts in Grief. To give people that awareness that the worst thing in life that can happen for a parent can be something that breaks you open, transforms you, and you grow into a greater yet to be version of yourself.
I like your seed analogy, Georgena. I think it's fantastic, because you've been cracked open. And many different plants, fruits, vegetables, there are seeds inside because they're moving forward. The plant is moving forward. And I have a friend that wrote a song many years ago, just a local guy, and I'll never forget the lyrics. I can't even remember them, but I know the song. It's about cracks in your shell. We all have cracks in our shell. I think of
We
like an
do.
egg. We do.
Yes,
And it
we
doesn't mean
absolutely.
it drives me crazy when people say, yeah, broken. I'm broken. I think they're broken. You're not broken. You're not
Mm-mm,
broken at all.
mm-mm. You're
Nothing wrong with
broken
us.
open
You're
like a
broken
seed.
open.
And that's why the new paradigm is so important. Language is important. If
Mm,
I don't see myself as broken, and instead see myself as broken open in this natural process that happens in the course of life, I'm not likely to feel like a victim. I'm more likely to feel like I'm in the natural flow of things.
do you believe that things in our lives truly do happen for a reason? We may not like them, but there's a greater something. And I'm not getting religious. I'm not getting deep and spiritual here. Just call it the universe, whatever happens around us, the way it all works. Yeah, do these things many times happen for a reason?
In my worldview, absolutely.
I agree.
Mhm. And I want to caution those people who are listening in this moment to not say to a grieving person, things happen for a reason.
Agreed.
If that's your belief, then keep that to yourself, allowing them to show you what their belief is. Because not all of us believe the same way, as we have seen so well
Yeah, for
over
sure.
the years, you know?
And we may never know the reason if we believe that,
Exactly.
you know,
Yes.
um, it's all part
Mm-hmm.
of the plan. Someday the plan will be revealed. Someday we'll all understand. But then,
Mm-hmm.
that goes along with your beliefs. Maybe you won't be here
Mm-hmm.
and you'll understand. Who knows?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't have that answer. I don't think anybody does. It's
Well,
what you choose to believe.
exactly. Exactly. And for those of us that are aware that we're embodied consciousness, that consciousness continues after the body dies, after we don't need this earth suit anymore.
Sure. Yeah, it's the spirit lives on,
Mhm.
i.e., the energy, and we're all energy.
Yes.
Um, do you believe also that what you think is what will be? So if you are that person, let's say you're grieving and you look at yourself sometimes as that victim, which we mentioned before, and God bless you on that. Yes, I get it. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
feel that way. It's all part of the process. But if you get stuck in that mode, do you believe the things around you? You're kind of charting your future, whereby if you process things, maybe with your help, Georgina, you'll manifest a different type of future for yourself in terms of moving forward.
Mm-hmm. So, in my training as a spiritual practitioner, I am very aware that thoughts become things.
Agreed.
And so when I was just interviewing Dr. Robert Niemeyer yesterday, who has contributed so much to the field of grief therapy. And we were talking about the fact that a person, when they're stuck in grief, this is the time to reach out for a companion, perhaps a professional, because by now you've perhaps worn out all your friends and family
Mm.
in this grieving process. But thoughts do become things. And that's why I'm here on the planet right now to say to people, you're more powerful than you know. Watch what you say, watch what you think.
Billion%. And I'm not agreeing with you just to agree with you, but I can tell you from my own personal experience,
Yes.
it's not the thing, and this is my proof of this, that it does work this way. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the things I manifested and thought I wanted in life. It's the things that I would say to myself along a journey, maybe in the last 15 years or so, that would just say things to myself, this is what it feels like around here in my life, or this is that, and this is that. Guess what? They all came true,
Yes.
not for the better. So on the reverse side of it, that's where, I learned that this stuff is true. And things that I thought of even a couple of years ago that I would manifest seem to be coming true now as I look at them. Not all, all the pieces haven't fallen into place, but as I think back, and I think we all should maybe think back to what were we thinking back then and what's going on right now. And
Exactly.
you might see a connection there.
Mhm. Yes, and so that's why here at the Institute, our purpose is to provide body-mind processes.
Mm,
So people in grief find their inner peace. You see, as we've said before, the mind is mean, but the body tells the truth.
say that again. Say that again.
The mind is mean, but the body tells the truth. How often are those thoughts that you're saying to yourself so harsh and critical, you'd never say them to somebody else?
Oh, no, no.
But when you allow yourself to scan your body to notice, where am I in this moment? Am I in that place of centered well-being? Am I in a place of inner peace? Or am I in a place where I've got an ache or a pain? Well, does it have a message for you? Who or what is that pain in your neck?
Mm. I think it's also too that all those things that we believe, those mountains in front of us, and especially after a passing, you can't believe how you can move life forward. How am I going to do that again? How am I going to take care of that without that person? How can that all
Mhm.
it will all fall into place. And I believe, as we talk about the grieving process, those mountains will become speed bumps and you'll just be able to go over them. But it starts up here. You have to have that belief that it is going to get better, and it will. Sometimes it takes longer.
Mhm.
Depends on who
And
you are.
the other thing is when loss occurs, it's an opportunity to ask for help because people want to help you. But
Absolutely.
again, our cultural belief is, oh, we'll just do it. Some people even believe that asking for help is a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
And so it's very important when people offer that help to just really sit with it. Would that be helpful? A woman walked into the office the other day, and she's one of the yoga teachers there. And I said, how are you in this moment? And she said, I'm not having a good day, and told me that she had gotten a diagnosis of breast cancer. Well, that's grief. And so I said, well, is your husband a good cook? And she said, no. And I said, so have we started a meal train for you yet? She said, people have talked about it. And she said, I'm finally ready to have people start bringing us food.
No.
But you see, the readiness has to be there, the asking.
Why do you think there was a block? Is it in this situation or just in general that people grieving are afraid to show their weakness?
I just, well, first of all, there's the overwhelm, there's the shock. You can't think straight. That's one of the things that happens.
Yes.
And very often, I use the word meal train, which is new to me. And it's not having all the casseroles appear at once and your freezer overflowing, but people coming each day and either leaving it out on the front porch if you have one, or making that brief connection and hug so they can see you because that's comforting to them,
Mm.
and you can have that presence of another person.
Do you feel also that a lot of people don't want to be a burden on others, even though they're going through a tough time?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that goes back to the way we were raised, because if we stop and think about this, when you fell down and skinned your knee, what was the family response to that? Was it go to the bathroom, wash it off, and get a Band-Aid? Was it, oh, let me see that, let me kiss it, let's go wash it and put a Band-Aid on it? Was it anything between there. You know, I've given you kind of the bootstrap, go fix it yourself, or here we are, da da da. And then there's a continuum of behaviors and things people say in between.
And among those different scenarios, how does that dictate who you are? How you deal with things?
Well, if you're a person who was raised in a family where pull yourself up by the bootstraps,
Yeah.
we don't cry, that gives you that perspective in life. And again, grief brings up the deepest, darkest parts of ourselves, longing to be heard and healed. So if you were the kind of person who, as a child, had to do the pull yourself up by the bootstraps, that was then. Is that working for you now as an adult and in the relationships you're in your life? And that's what grief does, is it breaks us open, and what's working, what's not working, what do I want to have happen?
Do you help people uncover that?
Yes, absolutely. And the body tells the truth so often, because in the methods that we do, people learn to get the messages from their body that will say, oh yeah, we can ask for help. Oh yes, it really felt good for me to put my hand on my shoulder, and that connection was good. Let's have more connection.
Do you feel, because I'm thinking about this now and I'm trying to process it, if I fell as a kid, skinned my knees, and what I would have heard, I don't remember. I'm trying to think what my mom might have said. I gravitate much more over to the, let me take a look at that, let me take care of it. She was very overprotective. So I can't see her saying, you're fine, wash it off, go outside and play. But for those of us that, can't identify that, you
Yes.
can.
Well, I can be with a person.
Yes.
Take them deeper, slower, allow
Right.
people to do that. And then that's where our intuition comes up. We may not be able to access those specific memories, but what was the feeling of being 4 and falling down like for you? And then we say, and then what happened? And then what happened? And then what happened?
I just got a memory. I was 4, maybe 3, and I fell waving bye-bye. I was on the radiator on a window, fell and hit my head. Still a little tiny scar up there somewhere from it. And, it was bleeding everywhere. And my mother, remember her going to the apartment downstairs, and there was a dentist down there. And she's like, my son is bleeding. My son, what do I do? I still remember this. And he's like, I'm a dentist. I don't know how to help you. And there was some tense moments, and they say that your that's my first memory, actually. The first memory you have usually is a negative memory, because it makes an imprint on you. It's usually not going to be, I went to a park and it was sunny out and there's butterflies. It's usually the other, because we're wired to protect ourselves, from harm and like that. But I get from you, Georgena, where it's not like you're going to extract those situations from somebody's mind. It's like you're the teacher helping us do homework, and you're not giving us the answer. You're helping us find the answer.
Well, I don't even see myself that way. I see myself as that companion who is a very, very skillful listener. And you are eventually going to say something to me that you don't get the significance of, but I do.
Wow.
And that's when then I reflect it back. So I have yes, there are things that I will ask questions that are teachable questions, but it's you, every one of you listening, that has the answers within. And
Firmly
it's my
believe
job to listen.
I firmly believe that. And that is in my 2-year journey now with some change. I go by everything I need is within me now. It's all here. It's all here.
It is.
Sometimes you can't find it. And that's where you come in. And that makes me think, if she's listening to me, what have I told her? What has she figured out about me? Deep dark secret. She's already figured it out, but that's all good. That's all good. Um, the Institute's website. What is that? How do we find you, Georgena?
You find me at integratedwellbeinginstitute.com. And there's a training there for professionals who want to employ body-mind processes with their clients.
Wow. And I even think too, even if you're a school administrator, there's going to be times where you're going to be dealing with grief with children. It's going to happen. Child, God forbid, passes in a car accident, whatever. Why do I say this? Because I get those emails from my kid's school. We're so sad to announce that, and there have been in their school a number of accidents this year that have taken the lives of kids. One was 3 in one car.
Wow. Oh my. And that's why I'm so grateful that so many schools have people trained in grief.
Yeah.
And so then to bring the body-mind processes in, because we can't think our way through grief, deepens the skills of those people already in place.
Final question here. For somebody that is dealing with grief, what do you want them to know?
I want them to know that the answers are within them. I want them to know that just like the sun comes up every morning, you truly can move through and beyond this grief.
Is it okay to say it's going to be okay?
That depends on the person saying it. And the reason I pause there is if you are the person saying it's going to be okay because you're uncomfortable with the grief of the person, and you're saying it because you want to just gloss over this, it's not okay.
Agreed. When I say that or think of even saying that, it comes from a place of love. I'm going to help you make it okay. Because I believe it. Believe it.
Yes. And that's why I paused, because not everybody's like you. And so as a result of that, we have to stop and notice, are our words comforting? Are we meeting the person that we're connecting with?
And are you being genuine?
Yes.
In saying it? Because we talked before about energy and your spirit and everything. The energy will be relayed. The other person will feel that energy and what you're trying to convey.
Yes.
Good stuff today, as always. Georgena, you're fantastic. There is, again, I'm going to say it again. There's nobody that has the poise, the knowledge, the passion that you have for helping people in such a trying, challenging situation move their life forward. You're amazing.
Thank you so much.
And I always look forward to talking with you. Again, the website, let's share it with everybody.
IntegratedWellbeingInstitute.com, and my phone number, 503-309-3966.
Thank you. And somewhere along the way, I look forward to getting together. Something tells me universally we will be talking again sometime soon.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcasts on the go and don't miss a minute of the action. Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcasts on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.